Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia. If you're new here, welcome. This is Friday Reads. It's on Saturday this week because we were having family frolics, as I mentioned in the community post. My daughter was here for spring break, and yesterday was her last day. She went back late in the afternoon, and now she is back at school with Moo the cat for her home stretch of her undergraduate career. We are very excited for her. She's graduating in May, and then this summer she is going to be relocating to San Antonio to begin her PhD. So we are very thrilled and excited about that. It is the program is developmental and regenerative science. Do not ask me any specific questions about it. I looked at her. She was taking notes. She had a Zoom meeting and she had her lab notebook open, and it was like in a movie scene when there's something scientific and then they show like the swirling blackboard of scientific images in the background. It was like that. So I have nary a clue. I know she's interested in immunology, mycology, like stem cells or T cells, or maybe both. I don't know. I probably need to ask some more specific questions. But anyway, she'll be beginning that program in late August. So excitement is in the air, but we had a really good time. And now I'm back to talk about this week in reading. Oh, and before we do that, let's see, TV real quick. What did we do? We were still watching Schitt's Creek, and now we've gotten up to the part where Patrick has come into the story. So that's like my favorite. I think he's my favorite character. Although, I don't know. David and Stevie. I don't know. I love them all. Anyway, so we're still watching that. Still watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. And what else? We watched the Holdovers. The three of us watched the Holdovers, and that we liked that. Watched over 2 nights because we break down everything into TV show length episodes. That's just how we roll. So let's talk about the books. When last we spoke, I was kind of near the end, I think, of Enter Ghost, which I can't talk about because it's for the BookTube Prize judging. I have now finished all 6 of my BookTube Prize books. I haven't entered my rankings yet because I needed some time to overthink that and shuffle them around in my mind, but I have filmed all my little vlog pieces where I talk about my thoughts on each book, and I will be pasting that together into a video that will air right after the BookTube Prize official video comes out, that announces which books are moving on to the next round. Anyway, I plan to settle my mind and enter my rankings this week and just be finished with that piece. I have been also continuing to work through, that made it sound arduous. It's not. I'm continuing to read Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. I didn't read a ton in this book this week because my reading time was shorter, and I was really caught up in 2 novels that I am going to talk about in just a second. And as I have discussed before, I am not good at reading 3 books. Two was the revelation last year that I could actually read 2 at a time, but 3 kind of just blows my little brain cells. So this one kind of took a back seat. I did read a little bit, and I kind of picked up on it again last night because I'm back down to 2 books, but it's really, really good. So the main premise in this book is, why is there so much poverty, and why is it such a pervasive problem in America, the wealthiest nation? And then he goes through these topics about different aspects of this. And a couple things that jumped out from this week. He talks about how there is a perception or a stereotype that government aid programs are a crutch for poor people that should just get their lives organized and their work life together, and that they lean on it and things like that. When actually, when it is studied more closely, most of the things that we think of as aid programs, like food stamps and welfare and unemployment benefits, things like that, are actually underused. Like, money is allotted and not always applied for by the people who are eligible. And that's partly because those same people have those same stereotypes, and they feel stigmatized by seeking out that assistance. So the idea that there's people that just live for generations where everybody is just on the dole is not accurate. And then the other part of it that I thought was interesting was that he points out that almost all of us benefit from government aid programs. We just classify them differently in our minds. That most of us sometime in our life have received different kinds of aid, that it might be like Stafford student loans at college, other kinds of scholarships that are federally based, also things like earned income credit and tax breaks and the mortgage tax loopholes, different kinds of things that people take advantage of, and not in a negative way, but that people look for different kinds of financial relief or financial help, but we don't classify them that way in our minds. And that the same people who politically speak out the most against aid programs and want to cut programs are the ones that get the most benefit from tax shelters and tax breaks that are federal programs. So anyway, very interesting. And I am continuing on. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit in that book this week. So what were those two mesmerizing novels that led me astray? Well, here they are. I read When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead. This was a Newbery winner in 2010. The book was published in 2009. A middle grade book that I read as a buddy read with Michael Clark. We are reading our way through a bunch of old favorites, or even sometimes books we had not read but always meant to, back from our careers as children's librarians. And this one especially, this is such a perfect book to read. We are close in age, in our late 50s, and this book, it takes place in 1978 and 79, and the main characters are 12 years old, which puts us just about where we were, and the attention to details of the late 70s about this girl named Miranda who's growing up in New York City. She is obsessed with A Wrinkle in Time and carries a copy of that around in her bag all the time. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessary to have read A Wrinkle in Time, but you will benefit greatly, especially if, I just can't say, it gets too spoilery, but just the late 70s vibes here are so perfect, and the social dynamics of the group of 12-year-olds. And there are, to tell you exactly what it's about gives too much away, because it's really wonderfully structured. There is a mystery for us about what exactly she's talking about. She's receiving some mysterious notes. She doesn't know who they're from, but this person seems to know how things that are going to happen before they happen. And she's also going about her life with her single mom, who is dating a really nice guy, and her mom is preparing for an appearance on the $20,000 pyramid with Dick Clark. And that, to me, the fact that that's even mentioned on the first page of the book, the first time I read it, that sold me, because I loved the pyramid when I was a kid. So the fact that they're always practicing for her appearance on the pyramid was a real selling point for me. But I don't want to say too much about it, but this is a really excellent read. And there's a certain thing that's happening in this book that I can't tell you, but this is one of my favorite entries in the genre of what this book's really about. If that's not mysterious enough for you, I don't know what else to say, but I highly recommend When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead. Also, that was a fairly joyful experience, but I also read a very sad book, If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. Officially, I selected this in the Read Goods. Oh, I do that every time. The Read Goods. You know, that challenge from Ben Reads Good. Will this year never end so I can quit trying to say that? Anyway, the category was Oscar-winning screenplays, because it's Oscar month. And so I chose this because I wanted to read another book by James Baldwin. And this book, Slim yet devastating. Oh my goodness. So we have Tish and Fonnie. This also takes place in the 70s, but earlier 70s. I think this book was published in 1974, and it was contemporary when it was published. And Tish and Fonnie are a very young Black couple living in Harlem at this time, and they are in love. They were childhood best friends, and they have fallen in love. At the beginning of this story, Tish is just 19 and Fonnie is 22, and they want to get married. And on the very first couple of pages, not a spoiler, this is right at the beginning, Tish is getting ready to tell Fonnie and then also her family that she's pregnant. And she is nervous, she's excited, she's not sure how the news is going to go over. And she's getting ready to share this, and she needs to tell Fonnie first. But the problem with the whole scene is that she has to tell him this at the jail, because Fonnie is in jail awaiting trial. He has been accused of rape. Now, we know pretty clearly throughout this book that this is a false accusation and a setup, and we find out more about that along the way. But Tish is the narrator, and she goes both forward and backward in this book. She takes us back to her childhood and the friendship that developed with Fonnie, and then how it became love and her family dynamics. And then we kind of move forward. She shares the news with her family, and so we get a couple of things here. But it is so heartbreaking and beautiful. It could have been written today, because we have a lot of elements that we are still talking about. We have housing discrimination. We hear about Tish and Fonnie trying to find an apartment, and how when they realize that a Black man is going to be moving in, all of a sudden the apartment's not available. We find out, just the complexities and bureaucracy of the justice system and how slowly things move. And we also get a lovely story of family, how Tish's family just really circles the wagons around her in this time. And they also love Fonnie as a son, and how they're working so hard to try to make things work out and try to improve this situation. And what can they do to get Fonnie out of jail? And how can they support Tish? And then we also have Fonnie's family, which is very different and very problematic, and his issues, the differences between his mother and father, and between he and his sisters. And there's just so many layers here, and it's beautifully written. This is also a book that has been banned or challenged frequently. There are some sex scenes in the book, but I don't know. I think by the time you're in high school, you kind of know what sex is. But also, I think it's also been challenged because of the racial situations and the criticisms of the justice system, criticisms of the police, negative attitudes towards the police. That's a grounds that gets challenged a lot these days, is that there's, any whiff that anything might be wrong at the police department. And just the whole idea that there is some kind of systemic racism problem in America. But those are some of the things that have aroused concern about this book. But it really is a poignant story, and if I would love someday to have a discussion about this book with somebody else who's read it, because I'd like to talk about the interpretation of the ending. Well, I don't want to say anything about it here, but I'd like to discuss what other people extracted from the ending of this novel. And so that brings me to what I am also reading right now. So I'm continuing with Poverty by America, and also I have to announce an interruption in the planned TBR of March, because The Hunter by Tana French came in for me at the library. I'm like, when she brought it out and she's bringing it across the counter, I was like, why is it a paperback? Is it a advanced review copy? But no, it's large print. Nice and big. I requested large print by accident. When I went in to put the hold, I don't know, I guess that was first, and I just hit, request. And so it came in, and I'm not mad about it. It's actually kind of pleasant. But I'm going to give you a warning here. Okay, first of all, I'll tell you, this is really good so far. You need to read, well, I think you could probably get by if you had not read The Searcher, but you're going to, I don't recommend that. You need to read The Searcher first, because it's the same characters. And the character development and progress is significant in the first book, especially with Cal, who is a retired American cop who has moved to Ireland and befriended a young person named Trey. And their relationship and how that develops is important in the plot and the character growth in the first book. And then it's continuing forward. So in this book, Trey and Cal kind of have a little business going where, and Trey's 15 at this point, so it jumps ahead a couple years. They make and repair furniture. Cal has taught Trey carpentry, and so they have these little jobs around town, and it's greatly improved Trey's self-esteem. And so in this book, Trey's father, who's been gone for like 4 years, suddenly comes back. He has a wife and about 6 kids, and he's just been off gallivanting who knows where. He's an attractive charmer, and he comes back and he has this money-making scheme that he wants to present to the town. Now, this is the warning I want to give you. Don't read the description. On this book, it's on the back, but this is probably what's on the inside flap of the hardcover. And it gives something away that I'm on page 202. It might be different pagination in not large print, but the thing has not happened that is given away in the blurb. And the book is fine without knowing that. In fact, the sense of mystery and suspense about this possible money-making situation is better if you don't know that aspect. So don't read the description. Just start reading the book. And I am really engrossed in this novel. I don't know what's going to happen. The moving parts and people's motivations and approaches toward what's going on are really fascinating. Really good character-focused Irish mystery novel, Tana French. All right, that's it. I'm going to just keep reading my mystery book. Now, it does qualify. It's Irish and it's a mystery, so it fits right in. I just didn't know that it was going to come up for me so fast at the library. And so once I finish with that one, I will reconsider the rest of my March planned TBR. But that's where I am for now. I hope that you have an excellent weekend and that you're reading something really good. Let me know about it down in the comments and any thoughts you have about any of these other books that I talked about. And I hope you have just a great day. And if you're celebrating St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, I hope you have fun. And I'll be back on Tuesday, which I believe is going to be a haul video. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye.